Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we have a very special challenge that actually bridges two channels funded by something snazzy. So, today I will be playing a deck with 4 Mycosynth Gardens, 4 Phyrexian Dreadnoughts, and so will my good friend Brian, aka BoshNRoll, over on his channel. And we're going to see who builds the better brew with these cards. Let's take a look at what I'm going to be swinging with. So I reached out to expert brewer Sabor de Soledad, who has put together a couple of the more ridiculous things that we've played on this channel. One of the ones that stands out in my memory is the black-red Skelemental deck list. And I was kind of poking around for Mycosynth Gardens deck lists, and they sent me something very similar to this, and I tweaked a few cards from their starting point. So our goal today is to use the Mycosynth Gardens, and I'm going to jump down to its final ability here. For X and tap, you can have it become a copy of target non-token artifact you control with mana value X. So this can become extra copies of hate pieces, or for the price of one other land plus Mycosynth Garden, you could create your own Phyrexian Dreadnought. So let's say you have an active Mox Opal on turn 1. You can go Mox Opal, Mycosynth Gardens, Phyrexian Dreadnought, copy it with Gardens, and you just have a 12/12 in play on turn 1. Most importantly, in a colorless deck. Unlike my scumbag friend Brian, I am not going to need blue mana to make Phyrexian Dreadnought work. Brian almost certainly is going to shove this into some sort of blue standstill Uro deck, but this is where my heart sings. I just want to fucking play Patchwork Automaton and Nettlecyst and kill my opponent. We are going to be playing a relatively aggressive artifact-based deck, and we're going to be attacking from some weird angles that are going to be a little bit hard to deal with. So for example, versus something like Delver, if we just make a 4/4 reach trample creature, that's a major pain in the butt for them, right? And Unlicensed Hearse is a great way to keep graveyards in check. And you know what's real popular right now? Reanimator decks. Atraxa is absolutely everywhere. And if you take a look at my sideboard over here, I am definitely over preparing for Reanimator right now. We also get to play main deck Torpor Orb, which is really cool because the initiative is everywhere. Cephalid Breakfast is very popular. Guess what? Atraxa has a real nice ETB trigger as well, right? So Torpor Orb is going to do a lot of heavy lifting, in addition to serving as a way to make my Phyrexian Dreadnoughts just enter play and be effective. ES, Urza Saga is a card that exists, and that's a wonderful way to tutor up our Phyrexian Dreadnought, and then we keep it in play with either the Torpor Orb or copy it with Gardens. I'm really excited to see what Gardens can do. I've only played against it a couple of times, mostly where it's copied Lion's Eye Diamond, but I am really interested in just oh, end of turn, copy my Nettlecyst, go to my turn, equip extra Nettlecyst, murder you. Really looking forward to that. As far as the sideboard goes, the thing that's probably going to stand out the most here is Gigantha, the Wellspring. So this is a 5/5. Now, unfortunately, the mana that you make from it can't be used to pay generic mana costs. So we're ignoring that. We're essentially treating this as a 5/5 that we basically get to we basically get to play for free. Otherwise, Run Afoul is some pretty good tech to get rid of things like Murktide Regent and, Atraxa, because really, I'm thinking about that card a lot. And one you might not be super familiar with is Lantern of the Lost, which is very similar to Relic of Progenitus in terms of its functionality. Yeah, so we're going to hop into some matches here. We're going to see how I do with my Mycosynth Gardens brew, and I encourage you to check out Brian's channel, BoshNRoll, to see his side of the matchups, and we're going to see who gets a little extra payday for coming out ahead here. Alright, please consider liking the video and subscribing if you're not already subscribed to support my content. Let's battle. Okay, this hand doesn't really do anything. This is a hand that just has 2 redraws, but I'm not actually too excited about this. I think I can do better. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan. Go to 5. I think 5 with no redraws is better than 6 with 2 redraws. Yes. Absolutely, yes. This is turn 1, Tree, Shadow Spear. Turn 2, cast Dreadnought. Or actually, it'll need to be... okay, regardless, it's a keep. Probably go Bobble and Hearse back here and just keep my mana sources. I need to cast the Dreadnought, and then I need 1 plus tapping this, so I'm going to need to play City on turn 2. Means Gardens on turn 1 into Shadow Spear. We are going to have Gigantha as a backup thing to be doing here if things go wrong. Okay. This would be... okay, that's fine. That's very beatable. I was worried about getting mooned there, which I would not have beaten. Alright. City. Cast Phyrexian Dreadnought. Copy. I guess we can sacrifice this Dreadnought and keep the untapped one. Alright, we did the thing. Turn 2 of the video. Next turn, I'm going to equip Shadow Spear, attack with a 12/12 lifelinker. Hello, and good luck. Yeah, Fable away, friend. Fable away. Okay. Small mistake on my opponent's end. The other Goblin token can also attack in there relatively safely. Because I always am going to just, like, block this one, right? So that's just a missed point of damage there. Oh, lol. Urza Saga is really strong. Alright. 13, lifelinker, trample. Absolutely get wrecked. And then I'll just Urza Saga into City of Traders as well. That seems totally fine. Good shit. I'm not expecting a main deck a Braid or anything, yeah. Alright, Brian. The gauntlet is on the floor. It has been thrown. Let's fucking go. I assume I sideboard 0 cards because my deck is perfect, but, like, we'll take a look. Pithing Needle's not crazy, Dismember's not crazy. If I have something I want to take out of the main deck, I can consider those. I should probably play the Dismembers. Unlicensed Hearse isn't exactly fantastic here. My opponent's not going to put too many cards in graveyard. Like, it's fine if it gets going, but I'm hoping to just have my opponent dead to other stuff. Yeah, this seems reasonable. Oh no. Boarded in Dismember. And accordingly, I no longer get 2 Gigantha. Massive value loss. I think this hand's a mulligan. The one City of Traders being the only mana source is a little rough. Patchwork Automaton is pretty good in the matchup, but not when I can't vomit my hand. This is mediocre, but I think I'm going to keep it anyway. Like, Patchwork Automaton can scale up to a 3/3 on turn 1 and go further from there. Transfer is fine. Like, that slows me down. It means that I don't get to just vomit all of this stuff. Makes that draw considerably worse. I'll drop an Ancient Tomb and pass. So Caves of Chaos Adventure would probably be the thing that I'm most scared of. That's fine. That's not anything that's killing me yet. Don't mind drawing Shadow Spear. But we're chilling. My opponent's 3 mana threats, or especially Caves of Chaos Adventure, are going to outscale what I'm doing here. Oh, but they don't have a threat. Nettlecyst here? I can also just play out the Patchwork Automaton and scale that up, bait early removal on this, which is annoying because it has Ward. Like, Ward plus Trinisphere works in my favor. My opponent can't, like, Fury and kill my Patchwork Automaton, at least not while keeping the Fury. There's some waiting to pay costs issue here. What could that be? Fury or an X spell, like a Shatter Skull Smashing. Another one. Aight. These are hopefully going to be pretty good. There are some, like, artifact-based sweepers that my opponent could play that could make life awkward for me. But in the absence of those, I should scale up relatively well. Okay, there's a Caves of Chaos Adventurer, which is good, but I will be challenging that in combat. They find time to play a Nettlecyst, living weapon, and is a 4/4. I'll go ahead and attack with my 3/3 here. See if my opponent wants to trade away their body to keep the initiative. My guess is no. Alright, cool. I do take the initiative. Do have a basic forest here. I'm very happy about, because I don't have all that much mana. And, like, I do have relevant scaling up with Stonecoil Serpent that I can do with the extra mana. Alright, my opponent's going up to 5 mana. There is a Fury that can take out my Nettlecyst token, but not actually the Nettlecyst itself. That's going to get to stick around. If I chump... Oh no, it's got Trample. JK. Let's not even think about that then. I'll just go ahead and take this hit. Forge is very good. Like, Forge on Fury here produces quite the wall. I don't know that I'm getting through this here. I've got another land. I guess the plan is turtle up. Actually, I get the most out of this if I cast a Mox. Cast a Mox Opal, I can then cast a second spell. But I actually want 2 mana to equip. JK. Let's cast Stonecoil Serpent. And then let's equip to my big one here. I've got a 9/9. Do I want to attack? Actually, I should have equipped to my Trampler for the future. I think I'm going to hold back and let my opponent trap me. And then play and equip Shadow Spear on my 9/9 next turn. Perhaps brutal. Okay, yeah, so we've forced no attacks from my opponent, which is really nice. Now it's 3 mana to cast Shadow Spear, 2 mana to equip. Let's play this game. I'll equip and have a 12/12. Let's go. I think I'm just going in with this one. I have other attacks, but attacking with more than this can get pretty awkward. My opponent does have some sort of instant speed response. It looks like they do. Probably a dead gone. Alright, yeah, so they have the mana to pay for ward. Okay. That has unfortunately invalidated my attack. If they had that, I feel like they could have pressed their advantage stronger on their turn. That's okay. I guess if they defend until they hit Thrown into Dead 3, they probably win, right? Another Fury. I'll lose if it's another Fury, because my opponent can just pay the ward too. Okay, it's a Shatterskull Smashing instead. I think this is effectively the end of the game, right? Because this would literally kill me, and otherwise I take 5. I am comfortable conceding here. That Trinisphere got me pretty good. I'm not going to do anything about that. I'm just going to run it back, and this time it'll be on the play. Okay, this produces a Phyrexian Dreadnought on turn 2, while also having Urza's Saga in the not-too-distant future to produce another. This is totally fine. I will keep this. I think I will probably just loot through both of my baubles immediately, rather than keep them around for Metalcraft-based reasons. One awkward thing that can happen is that my opponent can just play Fury as a 3/3 double striker after I play a Torpor Org, but I have a Dismember to help out with that. Dismember's just costly when alongside Ancient Tomb. Alright, my opponent tanked for a little while, and then ultimately did keep their 5. We'll start out with Torpor Orb. I'll play out both baubles. I'm going to bauble my opponent once now, so that I can see what they're going to draw. It is a Chrome Mox. And then I'll bauble them during their turn to see what their next draw after that will be. This Torpor Orb's not particularly strong here. Alright. Are you Chrome Moxing? You are Chrome Moxing. Blood Moon can be annoying here. Oddly enough, that's fine. I can kill that with Dismember. Oh, they're drawing another Chrome Mox. That's not what they want to see. Alright. Oh my god, another Dreadnought. That's so good. I think the way that I want to do this is go ahead and Dismember this now. Cost me some life. And I will play an Urza Saga and drop my first Dreadnought. So now I have a very real 2-turn clock in play alongside things that just make it worse. Yeah, Fable is not going to keep pace with what I'm doing over here. Oh, fantastic. I'm actually very, very happy with that draw. I'll go ahead and bash in for 12. Puts my opponent to 4. At which point, I will go ahead and just spend my mana. Let's drop another Dreadnought, drop a Retrofitter Foundry, and I still have what is basically going to be a lethal Urza Saga token, even if my opponent does some sort of crazy meltdown type shit. A Fiery Confluence. Yeah, so this deck's good. Deck's real good. Okay. Have a little bit of an awkward hand here. Very good if I draw a Dreadnought. It's very good if I draw more artifacts. I think I'm just going to keep this, despite the fact that it is slightly awkward. I don't know what Arkan is playing right now. Phyrexia bullshit? Phyrexia bullshit seems likely. I'll lose Patchwork Automaton here, almost certainly. Lost Retrofitter Foundry. Okay. I am going to play a Torpor Orb on turn 1. I have seen Arkan posting enough screenshots recently that I think this in play is just good for me, but I'm going to hold this bobble until I play Patchwork Automaton. Oh, alright, not the direction I thought this was going. Alright. Let's just make some land drops and chill then. I might randomly have shut off like some Baleful Strix or something. I don't know 100% what this is going to be. Okay, now I do. Hey. That's my way to get rid of that Strix. So let's drop an Automaton. And go ahead and cast a Bobble. Yield to that. And I don't want to crack the Bobble until my opponent's turn, because I don't want to put something in my hand that can just be Thoughtseized away. I'm just going to go to 12 here, and then Death Shadows are live all of a sudden. So we're both going to be playing relatively large creatures that we have to jump through hoops for. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity to do this. Another Strikes. Alright. Torpor Orb doing some work. I'm fine with taking 1, do a Baleful Strix. Is this eye control? Eye control, so I can't just copy my opponent's Strix. Although, I can turn Mycosynth Gardens into another Haywire Might if I would like. Or actually, sorry, this exiles non-creature artifact or enchantment, so I can't actually use that to get rid of Strix. I'm holding my Torpor Orbs for right now. I don't really need a second one. Okay. Forager is good. Nettlecyst is very good. Yeah, Nettlecyst is very good here. Let's go ahead and play that around a daze. This is a 4/4. I could attack with a 5/5 immediately if I would like, but that sets me up to be worse versus this Fatal Push. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to empty my hand here and increase the size of this Nettlecyst. It's going to be kind of a weird game of Magic. Yep. So this thing attacks. My opponent will take the Fatal Push. Take some damage from that. Go to 13. So my Mycosynth Gardens is almost certainly going to end up copying a Nettlecyst. I don't want to do that now. Let's go ahead and copy that. I have an extra Nettlecyst. Play Urza's Saga, by the way. Counts enchantments too. 2 mana to equip. I'll equip here. Deck is cool as fuck. Go to combat. I will crash in with both of these. Trade for both copies of Strix. And then I'll just make Urza's Saga tokens. For sure, you can use the push, that's fine. I'm going to use Urza Saga tokens that I can just equip these Nettlecysts to, and it will be disgustingly good. Primary question is, like, will this thing overrun me in the meantime? I don't care about this Thoughtseize that they get back. It's all fine. That's all the value that they get out of this. The big problem is if they just play like a Death Shadow or something like that here. Yeah, you can Thoughtseize me. That's totally fine. Another one of those recycling the Fatal Push another time is kind of a huge deal, though. I'll make my land drop past the turn. I'm taking 7 here. Yeah, that Fatal Push coming back a second time is going to do it. Otherwise, Shadow Spear just wins me this game on its own. I don't know that there's anything that I can do to beat this Fatal Push. Yeah, it's fine. Unfortunate. I'm so close here. Like, that's a 6/6 base. Already used this. What about Retrofitter Foundry? Was that discarded? That was discarded. Damn. Stonecoil Serpent not quite doing it here. Alright. I think I'm dead. I'm so very close to not being dead. Yeah, because, like, I equip, go to 2, this gets Fatal Pushed, then I lose. Yep. Rats. I'm probably not going to sideboard very much here. I think I'm interested in Dismember. Maybe taking out a Might. I like all my cards. First is important. Corporate Orbs are still reasonable. I could run a Foul, actually, rather than Dismember. Just a question of, like, do I want to rely on that green mana here? Given how small a window I have to remove some of this stuff, I think the answer is no, not here. This can sometimes also kill Death Shadow. Just sometimes, though. I am not sure what to remove for the other one, so I'm just going to take a Retrofitter Foundry. I don't imagine that I end up missing that. Sure. I'm not in love with it, but it's relatively aggressive. So let's play out some Baubles. Mox Opal is now turned on. And I will cast this for a smallish number because I intend on tying my mana up in Urza Saga in every timeline except the one where I get Wastelanded. Classic. I probably want redraws here now. A Brainstorm over there. And a Misty. That's fine. I'm looking at 3 fresh cards here now. So let's go Ancient Tomb, Bauble. I will go ahead and just throw down a Torpor Orb this turn. Set myself up for the future. I'll attack for 2. I can play a 5/5 Stonecoil Serpent next turn. Not sure if I want to crack Bauble, because, like, I can lose Stonecoil Serpent here some portion of the time. No, it's just Sorcery Speed Brainstorm. I guess there's, like, Snuff Outs. Let's go ahead and crack this. Misty's fine. Take some redraws here. Bauble came back. I'm fine with Ancient Tombing again, so that I can City afterwards and keep it around. I guess I can attack first. By the way, since this is protection from multicolored, these will get through Baleful Strix. Yeah, I will go ahead and play this. I think I'm okay making this dazable, because this is the difference between this being a 2-turn clock and not being a 2-turn clock. Punished? I don't regret it, but, like, playing that as a 5/5 is 7/14 damage, whereas playing it as a 4/4 is significantly worse in that spot. Alright, there's the known Misty. And there's the Death Shadow. I'll go ahead and do one of these. Upcoming land drop, that's fine. Yeah, that's good. Let's drop a Nettlecyst. Very nice. So I can equip this for 2 mana. I can also just do this. Get Shadow Spear going. Go ahead and attempt the equip here. Try to immediately get in for some damage and life. Brings my opponent to 8, which does grow the Death Shadow. I'm not overly worried about that as of right now. See what my opponent can do. Sort of interesting whether or not I just take the hit from the Death Shadow, if it does come in. Ooh, it's another one. So I can play an Urza's Bauble. Then my Nettlecyst becomes a 6/6. Okay, yeah, so this is a pretty easy turn here. Play this. This is a 6/6. Go ahead and move this over here. This is now a 7/7. This is, in theory, a lethal attack, so my opponent will block. I will go ahead and double block. I'll kill one of those. I will go 2 life to shift this over here. I suppose I'll equip this. That is probably worth it as well. I don't need to crack the Urza's Bauble immediately. This is just giving me extra trample power for next turn. Now my opponent can shock here if they want. Sure. That's very frustrating. They pretty much had that one locked up otherwise. My Nettlecyst is still around, so I can top deck another threat here and be fine. That'll do. I'll go ahead and play an unlicensed hearse. I can use to keep my... Sure. That's very frustrating, because that was going to keep my opponent from recurring meltdown with the ethereal forager that I know about. Yep. Say Livy. That's a little bit of a disappointing loss. Real quick before the next round starts, I just wanted to say a generic thank you to everyone who supported me via Patreon or other places over the last week or so. I really feel the warm and fuzzies and the love. Thank you to Lucas A, Devin J, Reto S, Joshua R, Bennett M, Melissa M, Eric H, Sammy, Aaron S, and Daniel. Thank you so much for your support, and I'll be thanking so many more of you later. Back to the magic. Okay, this is a slow hand. I'm going to have to think about this one. So it can lead on something like Forest Shadow Spear into Patchwork Automaton or Urza Saga. This is just, like, uninspiring. I'm just going to mulligan this one. I think I can do better. How many mana sources do I actually have? 21, kind of, 22, 23, 24. Do I actually have Metalcraft with this hand? No. I'm a little sub 50% to actually hit here. I'll go to 5. Yikes. I think I'm keeping here. Not casting that. This is not happening. This is a rough hand. Let's go ahead and do this. Get a feel for what my opponent is playing. Underground Sea. I need mana. Come on, Bobble. Hey, that's mana. We're probably in business. Aussies is good. Takes one of my 2 Dreadnoughts, but I'm only going to be able to do the thing once with this anyway. So I'm going to need one... Ooh. That's interesting. Doomsday with a Chrome Mox? My best draw here is a Soul Land. Torpor Orb is actually probably arguably better, because that also just stops Thassa's Oracle. Come on! Can I not get a break? I mulled to 5. Top decked like something very strong to give me a very reasonable chance at immediately winning this game. My opponent had the days. There's a shuffle on the Ponder, though, so some things are going well. I guess other things are going well. Like, that is another mana source here, and these aren't legendary. I'll go ahead and cast a Dreadnought. Copy a Dreadnought. Let's, I guess, sacrifice this one. Keep the untapped one. A Doomsday past the turn pile is now impossible. And trip away, friend. There's another C. Elective Brutality. Okay, it's Reanimator instead. Sure. I'll play a Bobble. I'll equip a Shadow Spear. Crash in for 13. So Reanimate is not live anymore, and I also just beat Grizzlebrand in combat. Ooh, sure. You've got haste. Oh, this is a Tin Fins variant, which is a name that makes perfect sense. Absolutely perfect sense. Not like you had to watch a lot of Adult Swim to understand that. What's a C-Lab 2021 anyway? Alright, so in playing against Tin Fins, which is an instant speed reanimator deck list. Is this an instant? This is an instant, right? I can basically board in my entire sideboard minus Dismember, and it's, like, reasonable. I have to decide whether or not I actually want to mess around with Run Afoul. But I, like, 100% want these 9 cards. Unlicensed Hearse is nice as well. I don't think I'm going to mess with any of this stuff. I'm going to go down some number of threats, probably. Like, I can kind of win the game with whatever. I could just, like, win this game with Patchwork Automaton, Nettlecyst, and Stonecoil Serpent. And then just board out something like these 8. If I board out Torpor Orb, my opponent can't reanimate a Dreadnought against me. I could, like, keep 2 of these to work with Gardens. or play like a run afoul as additional disruption. Keep one Dreadnought as a tutor target and do this. Is fine. I'll probably just kill my opponent with an Urza Saga most of the time anyway. Given that this hand has 3 different redraws, I think I'm comfortable keeping this. Like, I just love having Fairy here. Ooh. This costs me a mana to crack, which is a little interesting. I think it's fine. But I'm just going to play this card once I already have some mana available. Will be kind of the trick here. Then I just kind of leave this mana held up. And I will end up cracking some number of these baubles. I don't think I need to do any immediately. Fine. Also fine. So I control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 artifacts. So let's check out some cards in my opponent's hand. Goryo's Vengeance. I'm going to go ahead and crack again because I want to find more mana. And Force of Will. Good to know. I don't want to crack any more than this because otherwise I start dropping Mox Opal. Stone Coil Serpent, Mox Opal, Tree of Tails. So this is a touch awkward. I think I give up on making an Urza Saga target thing to Trinisphere here. Keep this Mox Opal. That's 3 mana for Trinisphere. This probably gets the Force of Will from my opponent. No. Yeah, so this fairy becomes a lot stronger once this Trinisphere is in play. I can probably keep this bauble around. Gardens is totally fine. I am safe to go ahead and drop the mana momentarily here. Like, that's totally fine. Pithing Needle on Grizzlebrand's really strong. So is Cage, for that matter. I think I'm going to go ahead and Needle Grizzlebrand. That's better if some sort of, like, show and tell type scenario happens. Now I've got graveyards covered in 2 different directions. I have a lethal threat in play. Nothing in my graveyard that my opponent can reanimate. Yeah, this felt pretty locked up to me. GG. Okay, round 4. My opening hand has a little bit too much mana here, and copying Stonecoil Serpent isn't necessarily hot, so I'm going to go ahead and mulligan this one. Oh, fuck yeah. Absolutely. I probably just pitch Torpor Orb here and stay aggressive with this opening hand. Ooh, my opponent has revealed Chancellor of the Annex. So this could be initiative, this could be a Reanimator deck. I think we're going to do a fun one here. I'm going to go ahead and cast a Stonecoil Serpent for X is 0 to clear the Chancellor of the Annex trigger. Obviously not paying. And then we're going to try to get a clock into play ASAP. And we'll follow it up with 2 baubles to grow it. And we'll end up with a 3/3. In my opponent's upkeep, I will crack the first of these. I don't want to crack them now because of opposing discard from my opponent. But we'll go ahead and take a peek. Cavern of Souls. Okay, so we are probably looking at initiative. Unless it's something really far out there. Ward 2 is nice here. It's not complete insurance, but really costs our opponent a turn. I don't like that they're just passing here. Might mean that I'm about to eat a Solitude here. Lotus Petal. I get to look at 3 new cards here. That's interesting. I think I'm playing Torpor Orb this turn. I just don't want to deal with the initiative here. Alright, it is Solitude. So my read was correct. My opponent's going to pay for the ward. And then I'll resolve my Torpor Orb. Nettlecyst will, in theory, outscale a lot of my opponent's cards. Like, it'll already be a minimum of 3/3 when it enters play, and it should grow quickly. It's a boon to have the Torpor Orb in game 1 before my opponent plays an initiative card. Cleric? Human? Human? There could be, like, a Seasoned Dungeoneer here. That is indeed what's happening. That's fine. I will outscale that in combat. Yeah. I'll outscale that in combat. My starting Nettlecyst is only a 3/3. but that's not actually going to be a problem. I also have just much better mana than my opponent right now. Okay. Yep, this is fine. Palace of the Void is not a problem. Yeah, that's where I thought that was going. I will take that damage. Okay. So, primary question here is, how ridiculous do I want to be? I can move a Nettlecyst over to the other Nettlecyst and attack for 8 this turn and have my opponent, like, on chump blocking duty next turn. I think I just want to do. I think that's worth my life here. This will be much worse versus a Solitude, though. But I think I just want to end this game before my opponent has a chance to draw reasonable mana. Like, realistically, this probably puts them on a 2-turn clock. Yeah, this is what I want to see. Just force them back in combat and then kill the following turn. This is great as well. I guess technically I play this pre-combat. It just grows this by 2. I don't think anything's happening during combat, but you never know. And yep. Good stuff, and now I have 2 different lethal threats. And my opponent's mana is bad. Very happy to be taking game 1 here. Oh. I am surprised to see that you want to show me more cards. That's the Chancellor from the beginning of the game. Yeah. Thanks for showing me Palace Jailer. Okay. I'll probably play a couple of Dismembers. That's about it here. In a quick survey, Unlicensed Hearse seems like the thing that I can reasonably cut. Again, there shouldn't be that many cards in Graveyard in this matchup. I believe this opening hand is just too slow. This isn't going to turn 1 a Torpor Orb, which might not even be fast enough in the first place. I'm going to ship this one. This deck mulligans relatively well. How do I feel about this? Turn 1 Saga, turn 2 Tomb, activate, and bobble. Just try to bury my opponent in constructs. This is probably reasonable. I get to work towards Shadow Spear as my big thing that I do to take back any losses that I take in the early turns here, and I'm not just dead to something like a Chalice on 0. Oh, are you just using artifact mana to Thalia? That's totally fine, yeah. Like, that's borderline irrelevant here. Not irrelevant if I draw Torpor Orb. That gives me a new angle. So I could play turn 1 Gardens, turn 2 Dreadnought copy. Does that win me the game a higher percentage of the time than just shit Urza Saga construct tokens everywhere? Probably. Let's do this. I'm going to leave this bobble in play. Like, my opponent doesn't have true white mana showing as of right now. What are you waiting to pay costs on? Oh, Chalice of the Void through Thalia. Oh. Cool. Yes. I'm glad you put it on that number. Was that intentional? Yes, that was intentional. I don't know why my opponent kept their hand. I don't think it's strong enough here. Despite the burning passion that I have for Thalia, Thalia's days in Legacy are, well, the glory days, they're not quite here anymore, you know? Phyrexian Dreadnought. And copy it with Gardens. Alright, cool. Sacrifice the token. Keep the untapped one. Again, I'll keep Bobble around because Urza Saga is the backup plan. But my opponent dies in 2 turns to this, and I guess they can technically have drawn either Solitude or a white card to take this off the battlefield, but it's a tough ask. Alright, that's strong. I think I'm still just going to beat this, though. I guess it depends on what I top deck. Like, the Thalia tax is going to be relevant. But these bodies are just, like, aren't enough to beat Urza Saga. Especially with that. So next turn, if I play Tree of Tales and make one, I'll have a 3/3. I don't need it to be a 4/4, so I don't have to take 2 extra damage here. I think my opponent will win this one if they play an initiative card this turn. That's a legendary creature. I'm now going to assume that my opponent is new to Legacy, and they weren't mulliganing aggressively because they are learning this deck, which is totally fine. Oh, my opponent also kept the wrong Thalia, so they didn't keep the one that was able to attack. Oof. Yeah, that's a pretty savage misplay. Nettlecyst is great, but I don't need to deploy that yet. That can come later. All right, I guess show me Solitude. Here's my 3/3. Okay, there is Solitude. I guess this is a reason to have played out Nettlecyst instead. I gain 3 life here. I end up taking a total of 5 damage. -6. This is still fine. Keep this in play for reasons that'll become clear in a second. I'll tap Ancient Tomb. Make a token. Going to be a 3/3 base. Goes up to a 4/4. Put Urza Saga in play. Then I will use my 2 mana. Go ahead and equip this. And now it is a 5/5. Good. Not 100% lock things up, but put me in an incredibly strong position. Guess I'm dead to another Lauren specifically. Lauren blowed this up, attacking with all this. Okay, of these, the one that I would like dead is Lauren. I do not want my opponent to draw Caracas and then bounce that thing later. I get 2 from first strike, and then regular combat damage happens, and I end up ahead. Alright, good stuff. I go 1, 2, 3, 4 to play Nettlecyst. I don't really need to do that. Let's drop a Mycosynth Gardens here. Go 2 mana. Drop a Retrofitter Foundry into play. Now a 6/6. I'll go to combat. Back for 6. After no blocks. Activate this. Gives me another construct token. My opponent takes 7. I go back to 11. Yeah, I think my opponent needed to mulligan their hand, and them deploying the second legendary Thalia was kind of a big deal. Like, that lost them a card that they could have pitched to something like a Solitude later. Now they have actual white mana. It feels too late. Yeah, Source of Plowshares is totally fine. So you're not supposed to use Swords of Plowshares on that. You're supposed to use it on the one that has the Shadow Spear so I don't gain life on my next combat. Alright. Have some fun before we leave here? I want to have some fun before we leave here. So, make a critter. Go searching. Get a Phyrexian Dreadnought. Copy it with, yeah. Yeah. That was rough for the opponent. Okay, no lands in the opener for the final round here. Auto mulligan hand 1. Saga, Gardens, Might on turn 1. Saga, Patchwork Automaton, Opal on 2. Yeah, this is fine. We'll keep this pitching 1 Stonecoil Serpent. This hand is going to be relatively soft to Wasteland. That just kind of is what it is. Go, Gadget, Might. More Underground Sea. Duress is annoying, but not that big of a deal. Like, losing that Mox Opal matters, because, like, I was going to use it with Patchwork Automaton to get a +1/+1 counter on it. But it's not, like, the be-all, end-all here. And I drew another land so that I can actually activate Urza Saga. We're playing against a Storm deck, like an Ad Nauseam deck. I can realistically pressure their life total enough that Ad Nauseam isn't great. If I'm playing against like a Doomsday deck, the same's probably true. But if they can go in the next turn or two, don't have a lot of disruption. I'd really like to win game 1 here. Alright, that was a long brainstorm, which always makes me nervous. Okay, Ponder means that I've got another turn. Now, I do have some disruption. It's really subtle, I can play Tree of Tails, and technically if my opponent missequences a Lion's Eye Diamond, I can use this Might to exile it. I also can use the Might to go above 20 life if my opponent just has, like, Xaxes. Alright. I am considering casting Stonecoil Serpent for X's 0, I'm not going to lie to you here. I think the 1 damage that I do from this is way better than anything else this Stonecoil Serpent can do. Assuming that my matchup identification is correct. We're just taking a +1/+1 counter here and swinging on in. 15 is not really where I'd like my opponent to be right now. And this is the big turn that I'm scared of. I have my opponent dead in 2 more attack steps, but they should have me dead before that. Alright. Rubland is not Storm. Cephaloid Breakfast build? I don't have game 1 Grave Hate. Yeah, okay. 3 is going back. Alright. I will make the thing. Now I float a mana here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I very much don't have lethal next turn. So, or sorry, this turn. So let's have lethal next turn. Yeah, I'm just getting Dreadnought. Dreadnought. Copy Dreadnought. If one of these were bounced, I would like the land to be bounced to my hand. So I'm actually going to sacrifice this one this time. Play Tree of Tails, which turns this back on. So Teferi, your face, your face. Teferi is unlikely to be relevant in the future, but, like, you don't want to be wrong with that sort of thing. And, like, my opponent is very much dead next turn. What you got? You're playing spells. Oh, we're still going. Oh, Doomsday. Okay. Alright, this puts my opponent to 3. They presumably have a kill here if they're still going. There's an LED. So I might have the opportunity to fuck with this if they miss sequence. So they need to crack right there. Yeah. Okay, so they didn't give me the opportunity that I needed. 3 cards to hand, and they do Thassa's Oracle me. Damn. GG. Well played, opponent. So the good news is I just have a pile of Torpor Orbs in my deck. And a bunch of okay disruption. I probably want Trinisphere. Surgical Extraction technically has text versus Doomsday. I'm not sure if I actually want to board that in versus just having something that helps kill my opponent. Swift Spear is not super relevant here. Retrofitter Foundry is not super relevant here. I might just play a Pithing Needle on a random fetch land or a Teferi to just help fill the 1-drop slot that I'm decreasing. And Hearse isn't overly exciting because it doesn't kill my opponent on its own. I think this is fine. When I'm on the draw, I can think about Surgical. Okay, I'm not really interested in this hand. Like, I can Pithing Needle a fetch land, but that is very much not plan A. Hand's kind of whatever. I played Trinisphere on turn 2. That makes Mycosynth Gardens very awkward. So my Dreadnought would cost 3. I think I'm going to keep this. Not the biggest fan, but this hand does something that means a past the turn Doomsday pile is not live. And that is valuable. I'm going to lead on Gardens into Might again. See what my opponent has to say about that. I assume the answer is just cantrip or discard spell. Oh shit, they're going now. Okay. Okay. So, my big questions are, does my opponent have... Oh. Do my questions not matter? Oh shit. Okay. Yep. So now... Oh, it's a deep analysis line, sure. That's a throwback. Now it's just Lotus Petal, Thassa's Oracle, and they win. Okay, or consider, sure. Petal. Oh, they have to pass the turn. Okay. 1 mana short. They can play Trinisphere, but they just play 3 mana, play their Oracle. They can Boseiju a land, but then they just have Petal for it. Yeah, their pile plays around Trinisphere and randomly Boseiju. and Haywire Might all at the same time. Okay, I have one line that can win me the game that I can see, but it's really stupid. It involves my opponent making a glaring error. So I Boseiju their land, and then they search and take a land out of their deck and lose to an empty library, which they did not do. So I lose to Thassa's Oracle. Oh, that's so frustrating. But Celavi, like, we've got a 3-2 finish. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Honestly, this is, like, legitimately very good. I never used Gigantha in the entire league, and a couple of times I boarded in something like Dismember that, like, kind of invalidated its companion cost clause. But that's not really important. This is pretty close to free. Generally speaking, this strategy is really good. Like, Ancient Tomb supporting Urza's Saga and also supporting, like, turn 2 Mycosynth Gardens make a Phyrexian Dreadnought is very real. And this deck mulligans very well. Because, like, Urza Saga Tomb and a couple artifacts is keepable. Gardens, a Soul Land, and a Dreadnought is keepable. Patchwork Automaton and a couple artifacts is keepable. And there's a few more iterations beyond that, like Torpor Orb plus Dreadnought. This deck plays really well from 5 cards, which is good because, like, there's so many different combinations of things that you can make that is just a solid hand. I think if I were going to play it again, I would change out the fairies. I didn't want Leyline because I wanted something just a little bit different to juke my opponents. I wanted that element of surprise, but I wasn't really thinking about fairy invalidating the companion cost of Gigantha. Maybe that's not really that relevant since I didn't use it in 5 rounds, but that's something that I would be thinking about. Generally speaking, this gets a huge thumbs up for me. I'm very happy with this brew, and we'll see whether or not my 3-2 is good enough to beat Brian and walk away with a little extra prize money. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!